Tekken 8 is on the horizon. January 26, 2024 shall be recognized as a national holiday as far as I'm concerned. If you don't know me, hi! If you do know me, I'm sorry. But if you do know me, you probably know that I love Tekken. Always have and always will. The first fighter I've ever played, and as a lifelong fan of the franchise, I feel a certain entitlement to talk about some ideas I'd like to see in the new game. Now before I start, please don't take any of this too seriously. These are just some fun ideas I thought of here and there. I don't need to hear how unrealistic or dumb they might be. I already know. So, let's go. So let's talk roster, but before that, I do want to mention that much of this video had to be reworked as I started writing it just before the release date trailer where they felt like revealing so much about the game, which was just delightful timing, but great nonetheless. So please don't mind if some of this video is immediately dated with random weekly trailers again. But now we have a confirmed starting roster of 32 fighters plus 4 additional DLC fighters with the Year 1 pass. Now if I can offer myself room to complain, this was slightly disappointing. Mainly because I really dislike this current landscape in gaming where companies can get away with giving us pieces of a game and releasing the rest of it as paid DLC. Now this isn't as bad as some other companies that do this, but much worse. Unrelated photo of Nintendo here please. But the reason it annoys me is because I feel like it's the higher ups at Namco and not Harada himself. Keep in mind, Harada has been on record saying how he hates DLC and thinks that if something should be in the game, it should be in from the very start, or at the very least, for free. God, I love that man. But Tekken 7 had a starting roster of 31 fighters and only grew from there, so I was genuinely hoping for at least 35, maybe even 38, but that was mainly wishful thinking. Now me personally, I wouldn't mind waiting a little longer for the game if it felt like the most stacked Tekken, which it should be. We are next gen, right? And a massive roster would be healthy competition to some of the other fighters releasing these days. So now let's talk characters I want to return in the game. There's quite a few characters from 7 who might not be returning, so here's some that I'm scared will get cut. Eddie Gordo, because he's been a mainstay since 3, and how can you even consider doing a game without him? Anna Williams and Julia Chang are 2 that absolutely should not have been DLC and should have been on the base game, so here's to hoping they can survive. Kunimitsu had such a great new design, especially since she's different from her mother previously in 1 and 2. They knocked her look right out of the park, and she should absolutely stay to interact with Yoshimitsu at least once, right? Miguel mainly because he still hardly interacted with Jin at all, and considering his revenge was his whole point to being in the game, they should at least try something. And it could actually be interesting, especially since Jin is trying to redeem himself. Marduk also comes to mind, and I want him to return mainly because they never did anything with the False Armor King story. Like as quickly as they introduced a major dilemma for King to choose between old family and new friends, they all just kind of forgot about it. Really hope they do something with that. And Bob because Bob. Goated. As far as returning characters who missed 7 completely, I would love to see Beck and how he'd interact with Hwoarang, 2 of my favorite characters in the franchise. Now Beck was implied to be dead at his ending in 6, but it was non-canon as he obviously wasn't the one to defeat Azazel. So I would love to see the GOAT back for at least one last ride. Bruce Irvin, cause he was literally a high-ranking officer in the G Corporation army. For those unaware, during Kazuya's reign in Tekken 2, Bruce and Ganryu served as bodyguards, almost right-hand men to the devil himself. Reunited after years apart, Kazuya still trusted Bruce and assigned him to build up soldiers to fight for him, and it's exactly what he did. It's really unfortunate that they sidelined him in 7 because Kazuya, Anna, and Bruce could have been a squad! Would also love to see Alex and Roger appear, mainly because Tekken will always be silly and nothing is more ridiculous than boxing, kangaroos, and dinosaurs. Also, considering these characters are the reason this guy exists, it makes sense for them to appear here. Also note that I said Roger and not Roger Jr., as his dad's got some making up to do, especially against the dad that stepped up in Alex. I can only imagine how funny those cutscenes are gonna be. And yeah, I want them as a costume swap. It doesn't make sense to waste 2 character slots if the movesets are gonna be the same thing. I'm looking at you, Kuma and Panda. If y'all can work it out with Lee and Violet, it can't be that hard, truly. Christy Montero, oh, I miss you so much. I'm really gonna need her back, as this can't be the last time I see Eddie and Christy interact. I need to see them happy again, bro, please. Bro, please. Tiger 2. And as for side characters I don't need as playable, but at least in the main story, I really want Dr. Paskanovich to come back, as he was so integral to so many characters. You can even explain his absence with him training a mentee and having him pass away, leaving the creative intelligence to a new doctor with different morals. Whether that be good or bad, that's up to you. And an oddball pick for me would be Maharu. Yeah, Xiaoyu's best friend. Mainly because I always did like her design, but I really enjoyed the ending in 4 when they get to talk. You can tell that Maharu just knows her friend so well and what Jin means to her. And seeing as how it looks like these two are finally gonna see each other again, it would be nice to see Maharu's perspective after all that's happened. But we all know that a game can't just be nostalgia. There's gotta be some new blood added to the mix as well, and I am not a character designer by any stretch of the imagination, but I did think of some new character ideas and fighting styles that we haven't seen too much of. The first one being an Olympic wrestler fighter. I immediately think of Kurt Angle when I imagine them in the game. The moveset would clearly be a tricky one, but not impossible. We already have characters like Steve that make up for not kicking, so it'd be insanely difficult to come up with a moveset of someone who doesn't punch or kick, but hey, I'm not the game designer. I don't even edit my own videos. There's still many different ways around this, as there's Greco-Roman, collegiate, freestyle, or maybe a mix of the three. It could work, or it could be too much work, who knows. A really weird idea I thought of was possibly having a masked vigilante character. Not a superhuman, obviously, but just a man in a mask who's learned different fighting styles and stopping crime. Somebody like Batman. I mean, not Batman exactly, but you know, somebody similar. They could also have tools to assist them in battle, and whether they go dark and gritty or comedic and zany, I think either road could work. Since Tekken is really good about being inclusive and studying the culture of their fighters, I think a Native American fighter would be really nice to see. There's a fighting style called Okichita that combines traditional native fighting techniques used by the Cree and Taekwondo and Judo. It also incorporates weapons like tomahawks, knives, lances. It would be a pleasure to see him play, and I am positive I am not alone in thinking that. And after seeing Prey, I am down to see some fighting natives. A character I thought of that has ties to already existing ones would be another masked wrestler, the female Lion. I'm not sure how I want her related to King, whether she's a lost lover, another orphan who befriended King 2 as children, or maybe an estranged sister. I think they could get really creative with how it could change the dynamic of King and Armor King's current plot. Plus, besides Julia's brief gimmick of JC, there hasn't been any female wrestlers in the game, and some of these ladies are killing it out there, so I would love to see it. And I know that it might be too much pro wrestling fighters, but hey, there's still lots of different styles of pro wrestling, same as Olympic, especially in Japan. It's not like King or Armor King are high flyers, and that could really be something, man. The last idea I had was introducing new blood, quite literally. How about a set of twins, one boy and one girl who come from royalty, a prince and a princess from some unnamed European country. They could easily tie them in, similar to how Claudio was introduced, as I think he's easily the best new character from the last game. He's at least the most interesting. The country could have their own army with their own secret agenda to gain hold of the devil gene, or, you know, something a bit more original. It definitely looks like the plot in Tekken 8 is going to be handled well, so they don't have to play a big part here, but you could easily start laying the groundwork for future villains. Stage variation's importance can't be understated. Why else do you think so many people are so nostalgic for the black sheep of the Tekken franchise with 4? Because no other game had stages that looked and played like this. And sometimes, honestly, it's for the best. But regardless, this aesthetic needs to come back, because I feel like some of the stages in 6 and 7 tend to follow this dark and gritty pattern that I don't really love. There's some exceptions, obviously, but not enough. Nor do I feel like there's enough stages in general. Of course, I've got no clue how long it takes to program different stages, but I had some ideas I wanted to talk about. I would love to see a revamped Mishima High School stage, a personal favorite I had back in the first tag game. Doesn't have to be super complicated, just a newer version please. Along with a new beach stage, something similar to 4, as that stage and music went too damn hard. Would love to see something like this again. Time for some references for the more hardcore fans. How about the Mishima Dojo, specifically from Blood Vengeance? The best scene is the near 13-minute fight between Hayachi Kazuya and Jin. And kinda Shin, but not really. There's so many wall and floor breaks that seeing it in the game would truly be something. And if I can shoot a little more obscure, how about the Tekken Island from the anime movie? This movie isn't the best thing in the world, honestly, but I enjoy it, and a lot of the fights on the island are pretty well done, all things considered. It would just be cool to fight and see dinos in the back, and there can even be a variation of the stage towards the end of the movie when it's all about to explode. How about a Bandai Namco cruise ship stage? Keep in mind, I just really love cruise stages. Like Daisy's Cruise is probably my favorite Mario Kart stage, I just really love it. But imagine a themed cruise ship to fight on with so many references in the background. The company owns so many properties that there could be a lot of Easter eggs legs, and just so much fun can be had in making and playing this stage. They could even have a Pac-Man shaped pool, man! And my last idea was a bit of an odd one, but hear me out. The Mandalay Bay Convention Center during EVO. This stage would be meta as hell, but I think it's hilarious. EVO is so integral to the legacy of fighters, and it would be so much fun to fight along all the chairs and tables of people playing on their consoles. Rando NPCs holding their fighter sticks, others holding Fat Tuesdays until one person spills it, ruining the fun for everybody. Seeing vendor booths from the artist alley with Tekken art on them. Oh man, I think it could be good, but hey, that's just me. Another disappointing aspect of Tekken 7 was the insane lack of modes when the game first came out. Even now, all they really added was Tekken Bowl, which was nice, but really could have been there from the start. As far as keeping modes, we gotta hold on to music, customization, theater, and bowl, but we could add a little more variety. In addition to bowling mode, how about we bring back Tekken Ball? Tekken Beach Volleyball, while not being as, let's say, expansive as the DOA versions, it was still a lot of fun and helped those who struggled with air juggling. Of course, it was pretty slow in 3, but I imagine the gameplay could be a lot more fast-paced now. And a new fun mode I thought of was making some type of cooking mode. I kinda envisioned the cooking minigames from Kingdom Hearts 3, but with fighters in Tekken. Imagine trying to make complicated Japanese dishes in a race to see who screws up first, Oscar or Lily. Also, we gotta bring back any version of Tekken for us. You see, back in my day, Tekken games used to have a beat-em-up mode. Tekken is an arcade game at heart, so having this mode made for hours of fun and replayability when I was a kid. Seeing what they can do now with different stages, enemy ideas, and power-ups could be so dope. Hell, that's a mode worth paying DLC for. And we gotta bring back Team Battle. The fact that it was skipped in 7 will baffle me till the day I die. Tekken games used to have so much variation and replay value back then, but now it seems like the focus is mainly on the competitive scene. Which is important, of course, but man, putting in these modes wouldn't hurt anybody, so just do it! So many fans were disappointed in 7 for its lacking of a lot of these modes I've mentioned, but no missing mode made me more sad than the absence of classic arcade mode. Okay, pause. So I'm about to go in length about how I really want to see classic arcade mode return for the sake of each character getting a fleshed out ending and story, but they did announce that every single character is going to get a what if ending that's purely hypothetical. Now, I love this. I can't wait to see it, but given that it is hypothetical, I do still really want to see them all have their own story endings as well. So it's being left in the video, and you're just going to have to be okay with that. Alright? Alright. Now this is the spot where the last trailer really made me rework this point I wanted to make, as I'm not too sure exactly what Arcade Quest is gonna be. I mean, it looks like an online hub where you can play arcade Tekken with anyone or even by yourself. At least that's what I thought. However, a recent interview described it as an RPG inspired tutorial mode, with the main campaign being completely separate. But a return to form arcade mode is easily what Tekken really needs in my opinion. Now, I love the new style of campaign mode that 7 introduced, and this absolutely needs to stay, but at the cost of not using any of the other characters that don't directly interact with the Mishimas, that's almost not worth it. Now, I understand with so many characters they can't all be involved with the main plot. I mean, that'd really be something to see, but it's just not likely. So in addition to the campaign mode, I want a classic arcade mode where we can see cutscenes of the other characters and their own individual plots, as a lot of them are actually really good. And the prologue descriptions gotta make a comeback too. To me, these aren't just flashy characters that get new clothes every game. They have drive, they have emotion, they lose and win, and depending on that, they shift, they change. I used to spend hours watching every cutscene, reading every description and manual I could find so I can learn more and more about who these characters are. This matters to people. I follow so many Tekken artists on Twitter that have so many headcanons on plot points not fully explored. People want to see that, and they want to see these characters grow, and not just a few main ones, all of them. As far as the main plot is concerned, I trust Harada to make something good. My only real concern, apart from some random Street Fighter character showing up and ruining everything, is the battle between Jin and Kazuya. I don't want either one of them to meet their end here. Of course, Harada recently talked about how he doesn't plan to end the story anytime soon, so I don't think that'll happen, but just think about this for a second. It took 7 games for Kazuya v Heihachi to be ultimately decided. Jin was only introduced in 3 and didn't interact with his dad until 4, and honestly kinda sat back during the last game. They've only officially met so many times, so this fight can be stretched a couple more games. And it gives Tekken the opportunity to start building up more villains, and maybe even do another time jump in the future. I honestly don't know what they have in mind, but with Jun being back, I am so excited. Now that most of my big points I wanted to make are out of the way, here's some bonus stuff that couldn't really fit into a certain category. What is your favorite Tekken game? Personally, I gotta say 5, as it was honestly the most influential one to me. And there are 2 aspects from 5 that I need some form in 8. One being possibly the best video game opening of all time, with one of my favorite songs ever written. Tekken used to have banger openings game after game, but I felt that 6 and 7 were really lacking. I mean, I know that it's hard to follow Sparking, but I need this level of quality opening in 8. And bring back Tom Leonard and Jeff Piscetto, cause this song was too much of a banger. I can't ever find too much on these two as well nowadays, but apparently Piscetto also sung the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers theme from the late 80s, so he don't miss. It's that simple. He don't miss. But the other aspect was that Tekken 5 had the first 3 Tekken games on it just for funsies. Something like this would be incredible, but imagine if Tekken 8 had both tag games completely playable. They could have the first game available from the start, but we can unlock the second one as a completion bonus. I know that would be one hell of a motivator. Completely unlikely in this gaming space, but hey, a man can dream, right? And lastly, here's where I was gonna discuss the guest characters. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of guest characters in Tekken, mainly because the first one we got colonized his way into the lore, which I strongly disliked. Please go away forever, Akuma. But they were so popular among fighters, and hey, who doesn't like a little mix-up fun provided they keep away from canon? So I got together 6 characters from 6 different franchises that I wouldn't mind as DLC in the future. Final Fantasy is massive, and a lot of people seem to like Noctis, but I think the most requested character from that game would be Tifa Lockhart. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about FF, the most I can muster are a few names from Kingdom Hearts, but Tifa is a close combat fighter with a damn good design and would make a great addition to the alarming lack of female guest characters. Joining her would be Juri from Street Fighter. I know the obvious choice is Chun-Li, and hey, she'd be great too, but I think Juri would add a bit more flavor considering Tekken doesn't have that many psychotic femme fatales. Get on that, devs, what are you doing? Same reason I want Morrigan from Darkstalkers. Now, I've played probably less than 40 minutes of Darkstalkers in my life, I just never got into the game, but even with the popularity of this franchise getting smaller, everybody recognizes Morrigan and Felicia. I really wonder why. But Morrigan has always had a special place in my mind, and I always choose her when playing Marvel vs. Capcom, so seeing her in a 3D fighter would really be something. Another highly requested character would be Kiryu from Yakuza. I mean, I've only dabbled in Yakuza 0 and I really want to get back into it, but the combat in this franchise gets super wacky and people would love to see him get down against some Mishimas. And if they could somehow interpret the karaoke minigame but with the other fighters, I would give Namco all of my money and assets. All of it. Take it, bro. Just take it. Please. Now, I've got 2 last oddball picks. The first one being the god of wrestling himself, Kenny Omega. Now, Omega is probably the most talented wrestler currently active in the world. He's been across the globe so much so that a faction he was briefly the leader of, Bullet Club, has shirts available in Tekken 7's customization. Wrestling is that massive and influential in Japan. He's also a huge fan of video games and Tekken itself. They even put him in Yakuza at one point, I'm pretty sure. Of course, I think he does prefer Street Fighter, and another good choice would be Xavier Woods of the New Day, but I gotta prefer Omega. And we can even get an AEW ring as a stage if they do it. Oh my god, I just really want to see the one-winged angel in the game. And finally, a bit of trivia before the last pick. Did you know that Lars Alexanderson is a character in Naruto? It's fairly known nowadays that he was a guest character in Ultimate Ninja Storm 2, and very little background is given on his lore in that universe, cause obviously why look that much into it? But considering that, it wouldn't be too out of pocket to assume a Naruto character be introduced as a guest fighter one day. But which character in the long franchise could they choose? They've got a few options. It's too bad that Naruto's mid and I'm picking Guts from Berserk as my anime pick. Get cocked, please! And thus ends my current wish list for Tekken 8. Of course, a lot of this is just incredibly wishful thinking and the rest of it is just nonsense, but again, I did say this was just for fun. Do you have any ideas you want to see come release? Characters, stages, modes? Leave them all below. I'd love to see what everyone else wants. Thanks for watching, and remember, care responsibly.